speaking program or speakers program of the meeting. Our first speaker has been a member for several years. He has almost like a British sense of humor. He's very well read and gives wonderful speeches. And I'm really glad that he has a special person in his life, Mimi. He's here because of her. Yay. Just a year ago, I think, this guy was dead. No heartbeat, no pulse. And he was resurrected. And I'm glad Mimi helped him out. So today, Eric says that a lifetime of being around his father, who is 93 years old, he's got good genes. He has taught him a thing or two about life. Being a father and the importance of character, he's going to talk more about it. Speaking from the advanced speaking manual, entertaining speaker. Title is My Father. Time is 5 to 7 minutes. Please welcome Eric Marquis.
Good morning, fellow Toastmasters. Good morning. It's great to be up here talking again in front of everyone. I'm talking today about my father. I've been thinking about him for a couple of reasons. Has anybody been, or did anyone watch the recent impeachment hearings in the House on TV? If you did, you saw a few people who did what my father did his entire life. You saw diplomats in the Foreign Service testifying in Congress. Though my father was never hauled up before a congressional panel, he was a career diplomat. When he retired, he was an FS1, which is as high as you can go in the Foreign Service. He was referred to as a career minister. He served all over Asia. He served in India, Vietnam, Pakistan, Thailand, Indonesia. We grew up in those places. I was a Foreign Service brat, as they say. And I've learned a lot about my father through his job, but also how a person's job can be reflected in who they are. My father made his life through words. He started at San Jose State as a journalism major and became a newspaperman and then joined the Foreign Service. He was typically assigned to the U.S. Embassy as a press officer or a public affairs officer. And though he's been retired for quite a long time now, it was really interesting for me to watch those hearings and to think back on my father's career and who he was. I don't know if you're like me. I think you probably thought that those diplomats were some of the most impressive people that you've seen. They're totally apolitical. I know this for a fact. I had no idea what my dad's politics were growing up. Absolutely none. He never talked about it. And that may seem kind of strange in this heated atmosphere that we live in now, where everybody knows what everybody else's politics are, and you can get clubbed over the head for that too if you're in the wrong group. I think that the thing that I really took away from watching all of those people testifying in front of Congress was how proud I was to be an American and watch these people who dedicated their lives to the service of their country and often toiling away in places that were dangerous, hazardous. And my father was in Vietnam for 4 years at the height of the war. He was in the U.S. Embassy during the Tet attack. He was trapped in there. And we were getting reports from the embassy almost hourly. saying what was going on, and we don't have word yet, but you know, there's Marines are coming. But beyond that, we were in India for 2 different wars between India and Pakistan. When I was little, I remember helping my mom and dad put blackout paper up on the windows and painting the headlights on our car 2/3. You painted black so that only a little sliver of light would come out of the car. My father was also in Indonesia for 4 years when the embassy was attacked. He really has served in some interesting places. His last assignment, he was the press officer for Admiral Hayes, who was the head of SINCPAC in Honolulu. So his last assignment, he was assigned to Honolulu, Hawaii for 3 years. I think that was a kind of thank you assignment for all the lousy places he was. And traveled all over Asia with Admiral Hayes as his press officer. Walked on the Great Wall of China, went to Japan, Philippines, all over Asia with Admiral Hayes. And I've thought a lot more about this recently because my father is 93 now. And though he's changed physically, he's still as sharp as he ever was. When he wakes up in the morning, he makes his tea, he sits down, he reads the New York Times and the Washington Post, cover to cover. He'll sit in his chair for 4 hours and read them all. Every day he does that. He has taught me a lot about how important character is. I've never seen my father ever raise his voice. And you have to remember, I've been around my dad for 62 years. That's a long time not to raise your voice. I doubt I'd go a week without doing that. And he's spent his whole life setting a real example for us. He's a man of real integrity. He's a self-made man. He came from very humble beginnings. He was born on a small farm in Southern California in Arroyo Grande, and it's a long way from that farm through the arc of his career and then to retirement. I've met through him and at our house people like Arthur C. Clarke, who wrote 2001: Space Odyssey. My father would always have visiting Americans to our house. Zubin Mehta used to be the conductor for I think the LA Philharmonic. And a number of other people, including Wally Schirra, the astronaut. The other reason I was thinking about my father is that I now cut my father's hair. He can no longer get out of the house to go see a barber. So when I go up there to visit, we bought some barber shears, and I typically set up a stool in the kitchen and put a towel around his neck and cut his hair for him, trim his beard. And we sit around and we talk, just like it was in a barber shop, you know, and you're sitting in the chair talking to the barber. And I was thinking the other day about this and about what a really great American life he's had and how grateful I am for the example he set, especially in this day and age, because character has always mattered to him. And that's something that I'll take with me forever. Thank you.